Spoilers for anything with YuYuShidaru in the name. Dave, are you ready for some emotional breaking down and seeing if Fu's dub voice actor can handle the breakdown? Because I am ready.
Well, I'm ready to see you break down from the emotional hardship of this.
Actually, I'm okay, because I know things are going to end up... Spoiler alert! I know things are going to end up okay. I know everything's going to be fine.
Uh-huh.
I didn't at the time, so yeah, it hit me hard. But I really do want to see how Fu's English voice actor captures her breakdown, because that's going to be a big litmus test for this dub for me.
From what I've read from other people talking about just that, spot on.
Well, we're about to find out. Folks, are you ready to watch Fu just lose it? Because I am. This is Yuki Yuna is a Hero, episode 9, the dub by Ponycan, which has so far been pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has been... I mean, this is their first dub they've done, and they put a lot of effort into this.
Indeed. My name is Carlos, and approximately 35 degrees to my right is my compatriot Dave. We will be your guides on this retrospective / dub review of episode 9 of Yuki Yuna is a Hero / Yuki Yuna YuYuShidaru / Actually, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, there's YuYuYu, but I've never liked that name.
No, neither has anybody else. Here we go. They get a form letter back saying, "We are currently experiencing a high amount of volume. Please know that the effects of blooming on your friends are being looked into with great determination."
She's like, who in the hell is manning this email? Meanwhile, on Cybertron, they will never defeat the mighty Shockwave. What's this? Oh, I don't know. Give them a canned answer.
Are you saying Shockwave is
part of the Taisha? Well, it fits. The Taisha's incompetent. Shockwave's incompetent. Therefore, and the rest spells itself.
Optimus Prime wouldn't put up with this shit.
Optimus Prime would be like, and these Taisha are letting these girls sacrifice themselves. Autobots, we have to take out vaguely threatening dodecahedrons.
That's it. They're Unicron's minions.
Now, wouldn't we already have that Ava Transformers crossover that may or may not ever be happening?
It was only for toys.
Oh, that sucks. Could you imagine a Transformers crossover with Yuki Yuna? How would that even work? I tell you how it would work really well.
Yeah.
The Vertex are Unicron's minions. Why aren't they robots, Unicron? Shut up.
Problems with the other students, is she?
Oh no. She gets along with her classmates. This is regarding Itsuki herself. Specifically, it pertains to music class. She isn't able to sing with the others. We've been trying to address the situation by changing the curriculum, but I feel certain that it would hurt Itsuki if we were to make more blatant changes to our lesson plans.
It's okay. She's gonna get better. The doctors told us her voice will come back.
I know I've said this before, but what I love about this is that it's actually Fu that is hit like a ton of bricks by this. Whereas Itsuki has accepted it, and she's happy that she can be a soldier to help her sister. And in fact, if Itsuki never did get her voice back, and maybe I'll talk about this when we're talking about the ending a bit more, Itsuki would have more than likely done something super productive with her life anyway. I like that Itsuki was the strong one here. It's why, when I originally watched the show, I thought Itsuki was going to be the throwaway character I didn't give two shits about, and she was not. She was actually one of my favorites.
And we don't know if it had gone on, if she would have been totally okay with it or not.
Well, human conditioning says that she probably would have had some problem with it. But I think it speaks volumes of her character that she was able to take it somewhat in stride and put that to other use. It is very inspiring when people can take a setback, like, I don't know, Tempest Keep, and turn it into some other strength.
I would actually say that if if they didn't have the extra fight after they had, like, she had lost her voice and everybody else had lost something, and the fight hadn't continued a little bit, she might not have been as okay with it as she ended up being.
Like if they had to stop fighting and not only does she not have a voice, but she can't be a soldier anymore?
Yes. Like, I think it was that extra fight after they'd all lost everything that allowed her to come more to terms with it.
That may be true. That's a good observation.
Because at that point she realized that she could still be a soldier. She could still fight and help her sister. She wasn't useless. If they hadn't had that, it may not have gone so smoothly.
That's entirely true. That is true, but the fact of the matter is they did have that, and I found Itsuki a very inspiring character. I'm glad they didn't give her a Stephen Hawking-style voice modulator, though. That might have killed a little bit of the effect.
I don't know, Carlos.
Folks, if you've been offended by what you just heard, please let us know at carlosanddaveanimerave.com. We eagerly await your messages.
Really? You think that would be a hot spot?
Maybe. We'll see. Depends how much hate mail we get because of you.
Uh-huh. If we've gotten a ton of hate mail because of you, I'm pretty sure my very poorly imitated Stephen Hawking voice modulator thing isn't gonna get us hate mail.
I'm always the guy who says shit like, Madoka sucks, but you should like what you like. Hell, I'm the guy who says Steins Gate sucks, but you should like what you like.
Sure.
I offer an out so that people don't feel strangled by my hatred. The only person I want to strangle with hatred is in the same room as me right now.
You'd never see it coming.
I see you up there, Damocles! Dangling your sword? He was the one dangling the sword, right? He wasn't the one under it. I don't know how this legend goes, but I trust the message is clear.
They get a bounce back. This address is no longer in use.
Oh my god. There would be so much Taisha murder if they started hiding. I'm surprised they didn't. The Taisha, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Fu's a little crazy, asking questions about her health and shit. You're gonna have to take over. And I like how Karnas comes so far along that she doesn't accept that order blindly. That she looks at it and goes, wait a fucking minute. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah. They're using Windows.
No.
They're using Windows.
No.
And it looks like Windows 7 because there's IE, there's Media Player. My computer!
No. 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 No! Wait, why do I care? Why does this bother me? It bothers me less than coding in English.
That's hilarious.
This is how you know that I'm a terrible person. I am smiling ear to ear, knowing what's about to happen. But I'm also feeling so horrible, knowing what's about to happen.
Whereas I'm giggling because...
Even when we were originally seeing this, I was like, oh my gosh, she is gonna break the fuck down right now. Sorry, go on.
They're using iPhones.
Shut up, go on.
They're using a Windows laptop with an
Apple,
iPhone.
Yeah. They're not using those... What, you wanted to use Zune? They need to save the world.
Okay. I know it's silly to think they were using anything, but I mean, Android would just be a virus in itself.
You know what, Dave?
See, there's some good things that happen with the apocalypse. Android died.
You know what? Why don't you suck my ass?
Janice, cancel next week.
Is that a yes?
Of course, this was the first time we realized they could go hero outside of the other fighting area.
Outside of the Jukai.
Yeah.
They could do it in the real world. Apparently in one of the visual novel things, they actually transformed for a play once.
Huh.
To have the costumes.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, that happened after?
During.
Okay, it would have to.
So that was episode 9 of Yuki as a Hero, aka the episode where food breaks the fuck down. I liked it better in Japanese. However, this was still pretty good. That said, Fu's breakdown was better in Japanese. I felt her Japanese voice actor really had, much like with Yuna's battle screams, her Fu's desperate scream and transformation and her voice breaking and whatnot was better with her original voice actor. However, her English voice actor did a very good job. If I had not known about the Japanese voice actors, I probably would not even be going, I wonder what that sounded like in Japanese.
I think she did just as good of a job. I think the Japanese voice actor just sounds a little bit more grief-stricken because she's able to hit some of the higher tones with it.
That may be true, but that counts still.
That's a factor of the voice, though. That's
maybe, but I mean, it's like with Yuna's English voice actor. Like the Japanese voice actor, when screaming at the top of her lungs in battle, her voice is breaking because she's trying to hit that screech almost, and it is imperfect, but that's why it works. Whereas English Yuna is trying too hard to keep her voice composed. But that's not what I want. It's not what I want out of Yuna, and that's not what I think she should be doing. And same thing here, like, this was a very well-acted breakdown, but I still felt like it was acted, whereas with the original voice actor, they took me to the point where I believed this was the character literally breaking down.
Okay, here's my song.
Oh, hey, big sis. I think I know what I want to do now. Are you saying you have a life goal now or something? You can tell me. Come on, out with it.
It's secret.
Hey, that's not fair. I won't go telling anyone. Come on.
Someday, I promise. なに将来の夢でもできたってこと？だったらお姉ちゃんに教えてよ。
秘密。
ああ、ひどい。誰にも言わないからね。
いつか教えるね。
However, like I said, if I never knew about the Japanese voice actors, if I had watched this in English first, I wouldn't have gone, I kind of want to hear that in Japanese. I mean, it's still a really good dub, and I don't know if we talked about it much originally, but Karin, super badass chosen of the Taisha, rendered entirely useless by an angry Fu, who just about killed her.
okay, but in her defense, she wasn't exactly trying to fight back. She was defending and trying to stop her. She was not on the attack.
Oh, for sure. I realize that. It's still funny to see that, by all rights, Karin should be able to handle Fu easily.
If she had to put her down, I think she could have there.
Maybe,
But that
maybe.
wasn't the objective. It was just to stop her and to not get cut up herself.
True, that is a good point, and Karin is not that person anymore. She will not turn her sword on her friend, and she was not angry about it after. She realized that they were deceived.
Yeah, episode 3 Karin, at the beginning, might have. But she hasn't been that person since the end of episode 3.
This does bring me to another issue. This is something I'm going to talk about more at the end, because time and reflection have given me some new insight as to how the show ended, the conclusions we were presented, and how I feel about the Taisha as a whole. And
is this something that's come to light by watching the English version, or is this just in general?
This is something that has come to light by rewatching the show, period.
Okay, in general, then.
And it's because, like, I'm not a fan of any storyline, of any fiction where only a certain type of human, based on some level of purity or quality that has no tangibility, can be something. And that's not entirely true, because I'm okay with only certain people being able to lift Mjolnir, for instance. But what I'm trying to say is, obviously young women in this world can use the power of the Shinju-sama to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm totally okay with the all-female cast, I have no issues with there not being any prominent male heroes, nor would I want there to be a focus on them, even if they could exist. I do have a bit of an issue with the fact that this is so steeped in Japanese mythology about maidens and sacrifices that now the logic of the universe has to follow it. And what I mean by that is, it is absolute bullshit that it has to be minors, it has to be underage girls only who can be heroes. Because the idea that... Because that would mean that your gender assigned at birth affects this somehow, which is garbage, because gender assigned at birth means only that. Gender proper in society is a social construct. And the idea that this social construct is really affecting a person's ability to use this power, and that alone is the determinator, because as we know from Sonoko After, anybody can become a hero, with the caveat that they're a young woman. That's bullshit. That means that, can a transgender woman not become a hero because of her gender assigned at birth? Can a transgender man become a hero because of his gender assigned at birth? And the answers to those questions are no and yes, respectively, which is garbage, because gender is a social construct. That means we have to tie it back to biology somehow, that somehow there is some biological reason this is true, but it's not. And the reason it's not is because, again, this show is steeped in Japanese mythology and culture. And here's the thing about Japanese culture, and I say this not to whitewash any of my own culture, because I'm part of a very problematic culture too. So let it be known that I'm not trying to single out Japanese culture. There's a lot wrong with Japanese culture. There's a lot that's misogynistic and ageist and horrible about that. And the idea that these girls had to suffer because of this philosophy, and that this was the story crafted around that philosophy, and this lore, this mythology, is in and of itself problematic. And the Taisha's actions are being excused. And they shouldn't be. Yuna herself said it's nobody's fault. And with all respect to Yuna Yuki, she's wrong. It is someone's fault. The Taisha could have been much more forthright and handled the situation much better, and they didn't. And this is the same issue I had back with Madoka, with them presenting Kyubi as a neutral party who was only doing what he had to do. No, he's a fucking villain. He is doing awful things and lying to underage girls and being manipulative and cruel. This is all in there. He is a cruel motherfucker, and the show is presenting this fundamentalist slant on it that makes no sense. And here, we're seeing that the Taisha is being presented as a party that had no choice, which is wrong. And it's either the result of some weird adherence to Japanese culture, or it's a fault in the writing. And it could be any number of those things. And I haven't entirely gathered all my thoughts It's just something that I am going to bring up at the end of the show, because I've been thinking about it a lot. It would be...
Can we just play this whole segment again and just not?
Oh, wow, really?
No.
Oh, wow.
I'm just fucking with you.
I will fucking Tomahawk Buster you.
Here's the thing. In Japanese or in English, what she said there is still very valid. That even... I believe her when she says that even if they had known the after effects of blooming, they still would have have saved everybody else.
I have no issue with that.
That's fine. You and I both agree that the Taisha should have been completely upfront. But
the biggest nodding.
This isn't a... I don't hold this against the Taisha as being a Japanese organization or anything else. This is something that any culture's secret council of assholes would do. They wouldn't tell everything because they'd be too afraid of insubordination.
Ironically enough.
Yes, that's what's coming up. Ironically enough. Or them holding back and ending up getting killed because of it. Because the fact is if they hadn't have bloomed during overtime, they would have lost. Period.
Overtime was the one remnant.
Yeah.
Episode 5 wasn't overtime yet.
Sorry. The what they thought was their final battle.
Sure.
So, and actually, Yuna bloomed then too. She's bloomed twice.
No, only once. She's filled up her experience bar a bit more. She's only got a couple bubbles left, but she didn't fill up all the bubbles.
No, she bloomed in overtime. She bloomed to destroy.
No, she didn't.
Yeah, she did.
She didn't even remotely do that. She used her second fairy. She did not actually Mankai.
She's got 2 bubbles gone. Of 5.
Yeah, I know. That
means she's bloomed twice.
No, you have to fill the bar. It's an experience bar. You have to fill it all the way to Mankai. Everyone's Mankai'd only once, except for Karin, who hasn't Mankai'd yet, and Toko, who has Mankai'd. The episode 5 would have been her 3rd time. Yuna did not change into her Mankai form to fight the second Gemini thing.
However, I've actually got no problem with a show making its universe's mythos being something based on biology. Where I start to have a problem with is the whole virgin thing.
Oh, and I will agree with you there, because virginity is another construct that doesn't actually exist.
But if they're basing it around the biological idea of male and female, then I'm sorry, yes, the transgender thing doesn't become valid in that case.
Well, there is a valid concern here, and that's that this kind of storytelling is dated, and it is exclusionary. And this story could have been told exactly as it was without needing that. It didn't need to be only girls can be heroes, and it still could have been entirely based on these 5 young women, and there didn't have to be a man in sight, because just limiting it to them, believe it or not, is still sexist. It is still very much this idea that we're glorifying femininity in a very harmful way. And but that's more of an issue I have with magical girl shows, period. I'm totally okay with the fact that there's something special about these girls and they can become heroes. Where I start to see a line being crossed is when they start to say, well, any girl can become them because they're girls. Because that's exclusionary. And it's exclusionary and it is fetish.
Really?
It is fetishizing femininity. No different than some jackhole who claims he has yellow fever is fetishizing Asian women. It's a similar kind of thing.
No, it really isn't.
It really is.
So because I make it around the biological actual system of being male or female, Not just that the transgender, okay, well, no, I'm male or female.
Forget the whole transgender thing. Forget the whole gender construct thing. We're talking about gender assigned at birth being the factor.
Okay. So because I make my mythos around this, I'm not sexist?
It is sexist. When you say that your system can be used by anyone who was born a woman, you are fetishizing femininity, because it ties all the way back to this whole cultural thing where they're talking about maiden sacrifices.
Okay, but
that is the only reason for that element in the fantasy. And again, like, there are certain aspects of Japanese culture people want to preserve and celebrate. Okay, fine. This should not be one of them, because it is very harmful. It's 2015, and there are women's groups in Japan still trying to fight this shit.
Okay, sure, but if I do in my mythos where only women can do something and only guys can do other things,
why are you even doing that? If you're crafting a world, why are you even doing that?
Why shouldn't I be allowed? Why is it automatically that, I'm not being inclusive?
Now, keep in mind, no one's saying you're not allowed to do it. Obviously, you are.
But no, if I don't do it, I'm now the devil.
No,
because I'm not making it inclusive.
You aren't the devil, Dave. Jeez, Louise, you aren't the devil.
Oh, but I'm wrong.
You are worse than Hitler, but you're not the devil.
I'm wrong, because heaven forbid that in my mythos, I make certain people special based on biology. How dare I?
The problem, Dave, is that when people do that, it is because of ingrained sexism. And when I say sexism, this is one of the few examples I also mean against men as well. It is ingrained, harmful gender roles that fuel this fantasy storytelling. And it's fantasy storytelling. It should be better than the real world is. It should not be this way, because it doesn't have to be this way. You don't need it to tell a story where your characters are women. You don't even need it to tell a story where most of your characters are dudes. You don't need it for a story. If you include it, it begs the question of why. It's enforcing a very ugly, ingrained idea of what gender roles are in society. And this is not just a Japanese thing either. We have this here in North America. They have it in Europe. They have it in Australia. They have it. I'm pretty sure there's some sexism going on the research stations in Antarctica too. Everywhere on Earth, this fetishizing femininity happens, and it's harmful for men as well. It puts us into these hunter-gatherer roles that are sometimes trumped up and celebrated, and it makes me sick. I hate to see it. It's why I love when shows don't do it, and why I may give a show more credence than maybe it deserves just because it breaks it. It's the reason why in Star vs. the Forces of Evil, I see Marco kicking ass in an episode where he's dressed as a girl and identifying as a girl in it, and I'm immediately celebrating this. Because even though that was a good episode, even if it wasn't as good as it was, I probably still would have celebrated it, because it's finally breaking away from this patriarchal constraint. However, you are totally allowed to make your fiction what you like. I mean, if you made an awesome piece of work, and I got on your case entirely because of that, but you still had well-represented characters of multiple genders and identities, I'm the asshole. And you would be totally in your place to tell me to fuck off.
See, even if I decide to make an entire show around just women characters, quite frankly, if I was the author and somebody started giving me this lecture, I'd be like, okay, I get where you're going with. This is the mythos I made.
I'll be honest with you. If someone gave you shit and I thought your work was great, I would be defending you right alongside you. Where my issue lies in YuYuYu is that it is being tied to something ugly in tradition that is being celebrated. And maybe if only women who had their gender assigned as birth as female could use the hero system, but none of this other traditional female sacrifice ugliness was tied to it, maybe I wouldn't even have a problem. It's a bunch of things combining, and the Taisha's behavior surrounding it, which is very much like a Japanese corporation to not admit fault. Although that's every corporation everywhere, so maybe I won't be a fucking racist and I'll actually admit it happens everywhere.
I mean, yeah, I've done a lot of research and I've played a number of very themed along this line. So I understand where it's coming from. But on the other hand, you can kind of take things a little too far in some cases, as far as going after a show for certain isms.
I'm not sure I agree that you can take it too far. Okay, you can take it too far. You can issue death threats. I could knock on Takahiro's house and say, hey, Takahiro, Yuna and Togo better be a couple or it's your fucking neck. Yeah, I can take it too far. But I mean, the issue is that this is so prevalent. Women's groups in Japan, I've been reading, and maybe I need to do more reading because I don't want to misrepresent. But from what I understand, there's a big problem with magical girl shows in those circles because they feel that a lot of them they're like, even the ones that seem like they're empowering to women, they're really not. It's more like fetishization. And that's not an invalid concern, even if it does things right. Look, there's stuff I like about the Avengers movies, and they are somewhat sexist. They are. There's stuff I like. I watch WWE wrestling, where there's still no female world champion. And there should be. We're long overdue for a woman to beat Brock Lesnar for this fucking title. Seth Rollins is the champion right now, but I'm sure it won't last very long. We are long overdue for the female equivalent of John Cena in WWE and to be well respected by fans. It sickens me that when CM Punk fucking quit and his wife AJ Lee went out and wrestled, everybody cheered CM Punk. Her name is not CM Punk. Even CM Punk was like, why are you assholes cheering for me? That's my wife. Cheer for her. I like a lot of things that are problematic, including Yuki Yuna is a hero. I'm not saying I'm going to turn on this show over this. I'm just saying it's an issue I have.
And overall, I guess here's kind of my issue with the last 15 minutes of conversation.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Don't hate me. I need validation.
And there's the problem right there.
Oh, I need validation?
Is that...
Everybody needs validation.
No. Let me finish it.
Sorry.
Let me finish my thought.
Gotcha.
Everybody tries to turn everything when it comes to any TV show, be it animation or live action, but very much in this case, we'll stick with animation.
Sure.
Everybody tries to turn a show and it's the ideas behind it, the mythos, everything else. And really, people just cannot fucking enjoy a show without linking it politically, emotionally, to societal issues. And I get parts of it. I know you're gritting your teeth. I know you are.
I'm letting you finish.
Yes, thank you. But when you start speaking for other groups and complaining about roles in culture, even when there are issues, we can take it too far. We really can. And I've done the same. I realize. It's just, these are topics that have to come up and be discussed, but to blame a show for its mythos when it's basing things on certain topics, even if it does highlight issues in society, this is another problem on top of everything. Because these things do happen, and even if we fast forwarded 1,000 years from now and these were all gone, these mythoses can still exist without being inherently sexist or racist or anything else. These are fantasy worlds they're building mythos around, and yes, it references a culture and the way things have been. But are we going to blame it? If they made this, say, take place 300 years earlier in the world and based it around this.
So in 2015?
No. Oh, well, actually, They give us a date?
That's where Nogi Wakaba takes place in 2015.
Okay, that's awesome.
In our world, 2015. Sorry, go on.
That's hilarious. But I have a significant problem with people telling me that I can't do my mythos or my ideas around something because it's not inclusive enough, because it's not PC enough, because it's not what they think I should have done, and therefore, how dare I? I'm good.
I think your thoughts on the issue, you articulate them well, and you're not wrong to want people to stay out of your damn business so that you can do your stories the way you want. You're not wrong whatsoever. Where I was gnashing my teeth a bit is when you were saying that people can't just enjoy it. I do have an issue with that statement because people who say, why can't people just enjoy it, are people whose cultures and characters are not getting underrepresented. We have no shortage of straight white men as heroes. So when straight white men are 99-point-something% of every protagonist and 80-something% of every important character in fiction ever, it is really easy for us for us white guys, one who is straight and one who is not, to continue to completely just go, hey man, what's the problem? Why can't people just enjoy it? Because we're not the ones being underrepresented. As a dude, as a bisexual white dude who wants to see more non-white characters and female characters and people of color, I want to see this for selfish reasons because I just don't want to see the same old all the time. But at the same time, think about a Sikh man who sees no characters with turbans. That's kind of cultural. That's kind of harmful in a cultural way. Why can't you have more characters with turbans? And this is totally me channeling a bit of Virinder Jabal, who's a great person on Twitter, a nice guy, made fun of by people who shouldn't have no business talking down to him. What about women who want to see more? What about a woman who's like, why the fuck hasn't there been a female protagonist in Power Rangers? Yeah, there was one female Red Ranger one time who was a traitor. That doesn't count. To say why can't people just enjoy it? That is an invalid thing to say, because there's a real
on its own. Yes,
there's a real answer to why people can't just enjoy it, and that's because the same things are always being trotted out, and things that are underrepresented continue to be underrepresented. You're not wrong though in saying that I went to 47 Ronin, and I didn't hate it nearly as much as Rotten Tomatoes said I should hate it. And it was a film that celebrated Japanese culture too, including the idea of ritualistic suicide. And even though I hate the celebration of suicide, I hate it so much, I was okay with that film because it took that element of the culture and presented it in an articulate and an entertaining way. So why can I enjoy that? But this, which is a show I do enjoy, Yuki Yuna, this one element of it weighs so heavily on me. Let's be honest, there's bias going on. I want to see Yuna and Togo become a couple, and I'm threatened by Takahiro's somewhat insensitive display of a gay character in a Kamiga kill that it's not going to happen. And I'm double worried that Takahiro is going to say something about how the heroes got to breed to make more heroes, so no lesbian couples allowed. So maybe I'm a little bit worried that my ship ain't going to happen, and it could just be as simple as that. But you know what? I think I've made my point, and you've made yours, and maybe we don't need to talk about it anymore. Unless you do, I'm totally okay with talking more. I love the sound of my own fucking voice.
We know.
Yeah.
We know. We being me and the audience.
Folks, what do you think? We're very interested in your thoughts here. CarsandDaveAnimeRave.com is your home on the web for more of this. Can I shout out my podcast real quick? I have a new podcast, an ongoing serialized fantasy podcast called Tales from the Orbis Ethereum. Go to orbisethereum.com. That's ORBISAETHERUM.com. And it's an online, it's a podcast. It's ongoing serialized stories as narrated by me. As of this recording, the first episode is out, and by the time you hear this, there will probably be more that are better than my first episode. You can listen to it right from the latest episode, or you can go back to the beginning and get the whole story. Any thoughts on that would be super appreciated.
We're out.
Bye, folks.